Yes, good morning everyone. Dilip, can you hear me? Okay, sounds good. Okay, today we are going to talk about Docker images. Okay. In the last session, we have seen different Docker operations, how to create Docker containers, okay, how to download your images, how to run the containers, how to verify the containers, start different operations, right? So today we will concentrate more on the Docker images. How these Docker images are built, how do they work, right? So let us talk about the Docker images today. So let's see how the Docker containers are run from images. Okay. So you might have observed this when you ran the containers yesterday, right? So to run a Docker container, you are using an image and then executing Docker run command, right? Tell me how long is that taking to run the container from an image? Minutes? Docker container to start the container from an image. To run a container from an image, how much time it is taking? Once you say Docker run, how long is it taking to actually show the container process? 1 minute? 2 minutes? It means you have not run any containers. So to bring up all the services, yes, it might take less than a second. It takes absolutely less than a second. Okay. So once you say Docker run ID, and then immediately it gives a container ID. Docker fetch images, it's going to connect it to the Docker Hub, and it will show the available Docker images. Let's say you have downloaded one Docker image and then executed Docker run command to create a container. So to create that container, how long is it taking? It's not taking much time. So to bring up all the services, if you have any other services like HTTPD, it might take few seconds. But the container is actually created in less than a second. Alright? So let's see how is actually it's working. I want to take a little bit in deep how do these images also work. But before that, if you are using a virtual machine on, let's say, AWS EC2 instance, how long does it take to create your virtual machine? Have you ever observed that? 4 to 5 minutes to finally bring up the everything service. How long will it take to create the virtual machine? If you just want to create a virtual machine, approximately 1 minute, approximately 1 minute, I would say. Okay, or maybe 30 seconds to approximately 30 seconds to 45 seconds or so. All right. So let us try to understand actually what is actually happening in the virtualization and what is happening in Docker. Okay. So on AWS, you have an AMI. You have an AMI, which is nothing but a snapshot, right? So AMI is nothing but a snapshot where you have the operating system installed. Okay. And when you create a EC2 instance, so what happens from here? It is actually going to create a volume, isn't it? So it is creating a volume from the snapshot. So you get a disk, 8 GB disk, so that gets created, isn't it? So disk volume is created from the AMI, and then it is also comes with a CPU and RAM so that it becomes an instance, right? So from a snapshot, your volume is getting created when you launch an EC2 instance. So here it is actually creating a virtual disk, a complete virtual disk, 8 GB disk. Okay. So since it is creating a new virtual disk altogether with the complete operating system, so it is going to copy the existing snapshot to a read write. So snapshot is always a read only volume. Okay, and your volume is read and write. You can read the data and you can also write the data into the volume. So this is a read and also writable volume. So the entire 8 GB data or whatever 1.5 GB inside, whatever is there will be copied to your volume. A new volume gets created with all the existing data. So that is the reason it takes actually time. So it's just like copying a file. If you have a 1 GB file and if you are copying from one location to another location, will it take time? Right? So it is actually going through the same process. So it is taking 30 to 45 seconds. Right? So let us see why this Docker images would not take much time. So here, when you say Docker image, okay, so it actually has, again, it is just like your EC2 AMI, where you have complete the base operating system libraries are included into the container, which will help you to run your processors. Okay. So here, what happens when you run the container from an image? So when you say container, so here it is not going to create the copy of this into the container. It is not going to create, or it's not going to copy the entire image. So rather it uses this image. It uses this image. Okay. So it will create a kind of link to your image. It will just use a soft link. So how long will it take to create a soft link? To copy the data, yes, it will take at least 30 to 45 seconds, maybe, if you are copying 1 GB of data. But how long will it take to create a link? How do you create a link? Soft link, hard link?
Probably half.
So probably
Half a second.
yeah, absolutely, less than a second. It won't take much time. So, but tell me, how do you create a soft link or hard link? Forget those comments. Ellen is to create your link, either soft link or hard link. Okay. So it uses a kind of linking mechanism. Okay, where that's going to the container will use the link of an existing image, and it will also create a writable layer. So whatever we want to add, so it is like you have one file, just like in Git, we have a version, and on top of that we add again multiple versions. So if there is a file modified, what happens in the latest version? You will see the latest version of the file, but remaining all files are same, isn't it? It exactly uses the same kind of concept. So it is just like your versioning. So most of the Docker concepts are actually derived from Git. They're like pretty much same. So it is just like two versions. So you have a image which has a kind of all the basic libraries and then your configuration file, etc., etc. And then we are going to it's going to create another writable layer, and if we want to modify anything, we change the data over here. Let's say you install HDPD, that gets added to your this layer, which means if you remove that layer, you still have that same base OS image. So it's very easy to roll back, if you want to go back. Okay, and you can also update your container. For example, let's say you want to update some core libraries. Okay, so let's say you have multiple Docker containers where you have this is I'll say this is image, the first layer. Okay, and this is a writable layer. So the advantage is if you have the same image used for multiple containers, and if you want to update something in the core operating system, so you can just update this image. So that will reflect in all the containers. So you don't need to go and execute, let's say, some command in all the machines. Rather, go and update your image. But that is not the case with EC2 instances, because there we do not maintain any links. When the virtualization, when we go to AWS virtualization, we do not manage any kind of links. If you go to the previous page, in this,
Satish,
yes,
I missed the first screen, whatever you have written. Could you quickly summarize it?
yeah, sure. So when it comes to the virtualization, we do not manage any kind of linking. So if you understand the process of creating an EC2 instance, okay, on AWS, or it could be anywhere in your virtualization. It could be on VMware, Zen server, anywhere. Okay, so you have an AMI or template, a OS template. So when you want to clone that, or when you want to create a new instance from that template, so when you say create a new instance, so the entire data here gets copied into another volume. A new hard disk gets created, or virtual disk gets created. So once it gets created, so it is like a new volume altogether. There is no linking between these two. You copied the complete volume and then you started putting whatever the data you want to into this volume. Okay.
Right, exactly.
So even if you create this new volume, it's okay, it's acceptable. But there in Docker, you cannot remove the image. It should always be there. You can upgrade it, and then you can remove the old one, but you cannot delete the Docker image. Okay. So here there is no relation, and every time it gets a new volume. So if you have multiple volume instances, these are like independent volumes. So if you want to change something in common across all the instances, there is no way. You have to log into every instance and then apply that. But whereas in Docker,
So Satish,
yes.
so if you say Docker image, it is again the complete volume image.
There is no actually volume here. Yes, but you have the Docker image. So when you go to the Docker image, so let me explain what happens again here, right? So you understood how it happens in virtualization. So it's going to create a new volume altogether, and then there is no linking further. So you can also delete your own the previous image. But when it comes,
No, my question is, my question is actually when you say Docker image, because when yesterday we discussed, when you install Docker, it will be created on top of the OS, right? So on the Docker, you will create one container, one service. Okay, Docker service you will install. On top of that, you create one container. Okay.
Yes.
So when you say Docker image, that service part only, not the OS and other stuff on the volume, right?
Yes. So on top of Docker service, we downloaded your Docker images. I think yesterday we have tried that Apache web server, right? So that was the image, Docker image. So we used Docker pull command to download the Docker image, and then we kept it. So whenever you say Docker images, all your images will be listed. So when you create the container from Docker run command by using a specific image, so that is going to create a link here. As I said, so you have the Docker image, okay, and when it runs a container, it actually creates a link here, so to the image, and then on top of that, okay, so let me write it over here. Okay, so actually, okay, on top of this, we have a writable layer. Okay, so yeah, so it's kind of a separate volume, a virtual. This is called actually a writable layer in Docker language. It's not a, we don't use that volumes name. It is called a writable layer. So on the Docker image, so the Docker image is just like your AMI. It is read only. You cannot directly change the image. So you can create a new container. If you want to update something into an image, you can create a container and then you can save the changes. So there is again different process. Okay, so here we create a Docker image, and then when you run the container, it actually creates a container here. So it is like, so you have a version 1. In Git, we have a version 1, some code available in your repository. And then if you want to add changes, you can add you can modify the existing files also. It doesn't mean like, you are actually modifying the previous version. The previous version is actually committed and you can always bring it, whenever you want. So on top of the read-only layer, you are actually modifying your, or you are adding new versions. You will be able to change the change any of the content in any of the files, but still your Git, their Git or here Docker manage all the versions also. So it actually manages your version here. So if you have the same file, for example, here in image, let's say we have created another container here by using the same image, and then it also created another writable layer for your container. For example, here in this image, there is a file called httpd.conf in the previous example for configuration, for example. So you have httpd.conf. Okay, so you logged into this instance. Let's say you change the port number to 81. Instead of 80, you change it to 81. Okay, so for this container, actually, where is the httpd.configuration file? It is httpd conf httpd.conf. And where is it coming from? Is it coming from the image? Is it coming from the image? But here, from here, I can modify the file. It's a writable layer. I can modify that file. So when I modified this file, if I have another container running, so will this change be will this change reflect in the other container? No, right? So what's happening here? So you have the Apache configuration, but where is the Apache configuration? Is it part of image? It's part of image, but when I modify one container, it's actually not a container. So you have another version. So it's like one repository. So now consider this is like one repository. So you have copied the source code to one repository, and then you have modified this. Whereas your base is same. This is original repository. The base is original repository, so it is not modified. And in your custom repository 1, you have added some new version. So then it will be available in this repository. But the other repository is not changed. But here, if you modify anything over here in this image, that will reflect over here also. If you change the port number to 81 here, it will change both containers. Okay, so that is how it works. So it has the Docker images are layered container, layered what do you call it? So there are layers in your Docker images. Okay, so I'll show you how to create your Docker images. So in fact, if you go in detail, it uses a layered file system. But I don't want to go in detail. Maybe this will just give you a kickoff, like to understand how the images are built. But I'm sure I'll give you some URLs. So just to spend some time on to understand the backend technology, how actually Docker works behind the scenes. Okay. Okay. So there are two ways you can build your containers. One, so you can actually take this image, you can run a container, and then apply some changes, then convert this as another container. Just like the way we create any EC2 instance from an image, apply our changes like install HTTP, then build your image from that running instance. That is one way. And there is also another way, right, where you can write one Docker file. So the Docker file, the name of the file should always be this.
So Satish, so yesterday when we changed the ports, okay, on the container we are mapping to some 80 port, and on our machine it is 81 port. We are mapping 81 to 80. Right. So that means, are we changing that in the writable layer?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the back end, we are saying, okay, it is running on 80 port. So front end, we are using 80, 81, 82, something like that. But the back end is always 80 port. So this, so here, there actually we have not used the writable layer much. If you add any customization, that is when you are adding your writable layer. For example, So in Docker, the Apache installation is there. But once you start the service, it will start adding all the log files like access log, error log. So where they will get added?
Right.
You have a writable layer. There it gets modified. So from here, when you look at this, when you log into that instance, it is like you have all the log files. You have also, it looks like a kind of, everything there. Okay. For example, let me show you one simple example.
So how do we recognize, how do we identify after installing any Docker image, how do we identify what is the writable layer, which folders altogether become the writable layer?
Absolutely. We'll see that. That is what we will see in, the coming topics.
Yeah.
I'll show you what are all the Docker containers there and all, etc. etc. Okay. Okay. So hope you understand, like, how these are run, and you can also build the image from a Docker file. So remember, the case should be always same, capital D, and the remaining of small case, Docker file. We can create a Docker file, and we can put all the instructions. Okay, which image to take. So it's like a scripted, what do you call creation. So even in AWS, for example, take an image, run the container. So can you write a script for that to create our custom image? AWS CLI. Create a EC2 instance from image, and then you can log into that, maybe some SSH script to log into web server or whatever, and then again use another AWS CLI and then convert that as an image. Can you put all of these commands into a script and then execute? Absolutely, right? So this is very much similar. So where you take a base container, so let's take maybe a CentOS or Ubuntu, the base container. Base container, which has only the OS layer, and you can take the base container and then you can install whatever you want. Let's say you want to, the task is to install your web server or web server Apache container. So take a OS container, and install HDPD, and then start you need to write the command for starting the service, and then build the container. So when the container is run from your custom image, Apache web server would be running. So that's what we have to do. Okay. So I'll show you both ways to create your images. Okay. One is by creating a container from an image, then manual installation part, and one is by using Dockerfile. Okay. Okay, so this is our Docker node. Okay, so I want to create a custom image on this. Okay, so let us see what do we have. So currently we have Docker images. Okay, so let's download a basic image. Okay, so we want to, let's say now there is a Apache image. So let us see if at all we want to build our own Apache image. Okay, so this was based on Ubuntu, right? So now we want to create a custom image based on CentOS. So I'll show you how do we customize Apache image by using CentOS. Okay, so first of all we need the base CentOS image. So that is what we do. We take the base operating system and then we install Apache and then we convert that as an image, right? So here also we will do the same thing. So search for Docker CentOS. So there is a Docker CentOS 7 image. So did you observe the naming convention? So when you do not have this username, it is the official Docker version. Okay. So it's actually a combination of both Chef and Ansible. In Ansible, you always see this. In Chef, you always see this. But in Docker, username is available as a prefix for the community images. If somebody uploads that, this is official Docker release. So this is official build of CentOS. Okay. So we can take the latest version. Say Docker. How do we take the image? How do we take the image? Docker CentOS Docker pull. So first download the image, okay? Or you can also run the Docker run command. So if the image is not available, it will download the image, okay? So let us observe here what is actually happening. So say Docker pull CentOS, and I'm not giving any version here. So in fact, if I need, I'll also show you how to pull the previous version. So you have CentOS is a one repository. Even if you want a CentOS 6 version, so currently it is CentOS 7, it gives you the latest container. But if you want to download the old container, that is also possible by using the same Docker pull command. Absolutely. So that is the like Git version. Okay. So say Docker pull. So look at this here. So look at this. So it is actually downloading the layers. So Docker image always has multiple layers, minimum one, and then it can have more than one also. Okay. So here it has only one layer because it is just a core operating system. We do not have anything on top of the image. So say Docker now images. So do we have CentOS? Okay, and do we have the latest version? This is your image ID. So let me show you how do we download the pull the old version. So CentOS, say colon. Let's say I want to download 6 operating system. Okay, so you can simply say 6. So but remember, this should be available on the Docker Hub. So if you know there is a Docker 6 version, you can use that. But sometimes you don't know what is the version name you want to pull. So what we can do is go to Docker Hub. What is the URL? hub.docker.com. So say search for CentOS, and this is official CentOS release. So when you do not know, so you can actually look at all the versions here. So you have CentOS 7, that is the latest version. If you don't give any version, it will take the latest version. So you can also say 6, or you can say 7.3.1611, 7.2, whatever. So whatever you have here, you can use that as a tag. So these are your tags for different versions of your CentOS operating system. Okay. Let's say I want to now download 6.9. In 6, that is the latest version. 6.9 is the latest version. So you can download that by saying CentOS colon 6.9. Okay, and then say Docker images now. Okay, you can see this CentOS, the same image we have 6.9 and also latest. So we have 2 versions of the same file. Okay, All right. So now you can build your Apache web server on anything, either CentOS 6 or CentOS 7. Okay, let us go with the CentOS 7. We want to build Apache custom image by using CentOS 7. Okay. So I'm going to run now a container. So tell me, how do we run the container on this? Hyphen D hyphen name, container name, let's say Apache 1 CentOS. Okay. All right. So what is actually running? Is it running anything? Docker PS, because it's just a OS base, so there is no daemon defined. If there is a daemon defined, it will start running, but there is nothing defined. This is actually plain vanilla operating system. Bin bash. So we can say bin bash. So when you execute bin bash, you will be connected to your container, and then you can execute whatever you want. So we can say, instead of hyphen D first, we have to say interactive. Okay, run it in attached mode. Say I want to run bin bash. So once the Docker container runs, it opens a bin bash process, and we will get connected to your bin bash. So this is like logging into your server. Okay. So Apache 1 is already in use. So I'll use Apache 2. So now it created the container, and you also logged into that. So what do we have here? ps-ef and grep. Just say ps-ef. So there is only bin bash process. No systemd process, no other kernel processes inside your Docker container. So that is the whole advantage of Docker. So it is now running only bin bash. Okay. Okay. Then we want to now install your Apache web server. So what are the steps? What are the steps? Yum install y httpd.
So Satish, yesterday we have used the command docker ps, right?
Yes.
So difference between docker ps and ps minus cf. ps minus cf operating system level.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So ps-ef is
This you can see Docker version, right?
yes, yes. So Docker PS will show
Yeah,
you.
Linux command. Yeah.
Yeah. So Docker containers. Docker PS will show you Docker containers. Okay. Your HTTPD is installed now. Okay. Okay. Now, how do we start the Docker container? Sorry. How do we start the Apache web server? Systemctl. So systemctl start HTTPD. Okay. So tell me, what happens exactly when you run systemctl process? It will start the HTTP daemon, and it is also sent to background. It becomes a daemon. But here in the Docker, it should be running. It should be running in the foreground. When you want to create your image, we need to make sure the process runs in the foreground. So we should not be running it in. So systemctl start systemctl enable will not work here. Okay. So the way we can do is, let's go to etc rc.local. Can we put over here which should run? So just to say httpd -d foreground. Yes. So just try this command. If it works, you can put it in this one. So it's running in foreground. So that is how it should run. Your process should run in the foreground inside your Docker container. And when you run that, so when you create the container, so your process will be listening inside your Docker container. Okay. Okay. So just to check that if it works in the foreground, and when it is running, you can put it in etcrc.local, and if possible, okay, put it in give the absolute path. It's always a best practice. etc.rc.local. At etc.rc.local file. Flash has been flash httpd. httpd is inside your slash sbin directory. Okay, so our installation is done. Okay, so what is the next step? So when you say etc.rc.local, it will start. So anything, remember what is the purpose of rc.local file in Linux? So you put anything inside your rc.local, it will start. You know, when the system starts, finally your rc.local script will start before it gives you the user login. So you can put anything in your rc.local file. Okay. Okay. So then we should not say exit here. If you say exit, what happens? Container will die. So we need to make sure the container would be running. So say control PQ.
Control Q.
Yeah, control PQ. So say Docker. Yes, okay, that is running. So now you can say Docker commit, give some tag. Let's say I'm giving Apache. Since it is a custom image, I'm going to use Shala and Apache 2. Use your so remember you have to like fix a name for all your accounts. How many of you have actually created GitHub accounts? Bitbucket, Hosted Chef, then your Ansible Galaxy. So if you want to grow into DevOps, you should have accounts on all these portals: AWS Console, GitHub, Bitbucket, Ansible, Manage Chef, Docker Hub. Where else? I think we have seen one more thing. Yeah, AWS Console. Keep your accounts ready. So sometimes, you know, even if I want to share after this class, guys, one more thing. This is the last class. So how many of you have seen the notice board? How many of you have seen notice board? Come on. So we are actually hiring freshers. Okay. So if someone is ready, come and talk to me. Okay. So you need, yeah. So AWS Console, GitHub, and you can also use Bitbucket. So GitHub and Bitbucket both are same, but as I said, Bitbucket gives you private repositories, so you can try that. And Ansible Galaxy, manage.chef.io, hosted chefs, and the Docker Hub. So fix some name like Yashala. So that's the convention I follow. So first character of my original name, first name, and my surname. Sorry.
What are the last two items you mentioned? AWS, GitHub, Bitbucket, Ansible Galaxy.
Yeah, I'll give you. Let me put it over here then. AWS Console, I think all of you have that access.
Yeah.
And Ansible Galaxy. Okay, before Ansible Galaxy, GitHub, Bitbucket, Ansible Galaxy, hosted Chef, Docker Hub. So create your accounts on all this. Then only you can continue the practice. Okay. And that's it. Okay. All right. So this is the naming convention I follow. So I use this name, you know, for as my username. So say -t, and that is the name you are giving. That is the tag you are giving for your image. Okay. Or let us try that without tag also. I think we have tried that yesterday. So you can it's optional. Say Docker commit now. Remember, when you want to commit, the container should be running. Then only you can commit. Then it gives you another SHA ID, which is your image. So it gives you the first few names. Look at this, but it does not have any tags. Okay, either you can give -t here tags, or now also you can tag it. So say image ID, and then so this is your source image ID, and this is the tag I want to add. Okay.
So basically what we have done is we created an Apache image on CentOS. That's what, right?
Absolutely.
So if I take this, if I take this image, SLA/Apache2, it will come along with the CentOS.
CentOS, yeah, CentOS basically is there. So we are running Apache Web Server on CentOS. The previous one, this one, the one which we downloaded from Docker Hub. This is Apache on top of Ubuntu. So here we are using CentOS for most of our installations. So we have built an image, Apache image on top of CentOS installation. Okay.
So if I even if I am on Ubuntu OS, but if I download this image Apache 2, so it will that Apache 2 image will be downloaded on CentOS and it will be run on CentOS.
Absolutely. So if you look at this, actually the size of the file would not be much. So this is 193 and this is 332 MB. So you can also, I'll show you how this Docker looks like. Actually, you can also say Docker inspect the image ID. So look at these root layers. So there are two layers. Okay. So here, Docker images. Root FS, there should be another container. The parent container. So this is nothing but your container, right? So when I actually upload this, so if I have to upload, I can upload this to Docker Hub also. But in that case, your CentOS will not be part of this image. So as I said, it is only link. Okay. When you download again, only the writable layer, the second layer will come. And when you want to run that, okay, the Apache CentOS layer will be downloaded separately. If you already have the CentOS, it will not download it once again. So that is the advantage of Docker. So it is like multiple. It's actually kind of multiple link of multiple files. So it is always a link. So if you have that link already, it will not download or it will not. It will use the existing one. It will not download it once again. It does not need to download.
So Satish, so in that case, suppose if I am running Ubuntu or Red Hat and on top of Red Hat, for example, and if I want to run Apache to your image, so because I am not on CentOS, it will download this image because it is linked to CentOS. So CentOS image also will be downloaded automatically.
Yes, it will come with the CentOS image also. So it will, at least it will show that as a separate layer. Okay, absolutely. Okay. All right. So now let us see how do we run a container from this. So now we want to run it in detached mode because ideally the web server should be started. And let's say I want to now use web 1, for example. Okay. And by using this Apache. Okay, web 1 is also there.
It is also there, I guess.
Okay. So now it should be running. Okay. But how do we verify that? So we cannot simply run this, right? So when we know, okay, 80 port would be listening on the Docker container when I run the web server. So we have to create the port mapping. And then we can also attach the HTML content to the Docker container so that it can start reading the HTML content. Okay, so let us run another one. So say Docker run -, okay, -d, -e, 80 currently it is not running. So we can use -name web 13 session. Okay. Not used. Okay. Yeah, it is not listening. Why is that? Oh, actually, this is our the previous container. So it is not actually showing that web 13 is not showing in running state. There is some problem with it. It is actually dying. It just exited. It exited. So there is something wrong with it. So we have to fix that first. Okay. So let us clean these all. There is a shortcut also for this actually. So if you want to remove all the what do you call all the containers, so you can also use some regular expression. So, but I don't remember that. I'm using.
So container we got to stop first.
Yeah. So there is one running. The Apache 2 is already running actually. So it is not. We are not able to remove that. That's fine. We'll leave that. Okay. So now it looks clean. We have only one Apache container in running state. Okay. So let us see what is going wrong with our new container. So Docker images. So we want to run this. Try to Docker run hyphen. Let us run it in interactive mode. And I don't need to give any name. Okay, it is still picking the bin bash. It's not started that what do you call Apache service. Why is it?
You go to the script and see that.
Script package is installed. etc rc.local. This will start actually. Yeah, committed. Then only this image has come, right? Okay, so that's fine.
See the status of the HTTP service, sir.
HTTPD would not be running, I'm sure. So when you say ps-, it will show only bin bash. That is the reason we are able to log into that instance. Okay, so no, that's fine. So that's fine. Okay, let us run a container. So at least with the package installation, we know, right? So we have installed some packages. So let us ensure at least that is there. So I'll show you how to use Docker file to expose the ports. There is a different way also. So Docker run hyphen it yes shala okay. So check if the package is installed. At least it is there. So whatever you want to install, you can customize that and then you can put it there. Okay. But if I don't know, maybe there could be some limitations or there is a different way for exposing the ports and all to start the services. So I'll find out and I'll let you know. So forget about this. So this is one way of customizing your images. Okay. And there is also another way for customizing your images. Okay. So just create a directory. So how do you create a Git repository? You go to create a directory and then you put the code into that, right? So similarly, for every Docker repository, create one directory, and there should be one file, as I said, Docker file. Okay, that is the minimum. That's actually this naming convention syntax, and I have an example on wiki here. Just so I search for this Docker file. So this is the minimum file. So this is how it looks like. Okay, I think when we have the custom container, okay, fine, I got it. Okay, so here, look at how we are creating a container. So this is the syntax. This is how it looks. So where you say first from, this is your base image, which we want to use for building our own custom image. And then maintainer is nothing but some name, who is like, your name and your email ID. You can give all that information. Then run is to execute the command directly inside into your Docker container. So this will install the packages, or you can modify the files. You can execute any command, whatever the Linux command you want to execute, you can put it over there in run. And then you also want to expose the ports. Okay, so basically Apache will use 80 and 443, and this is since this is the default installation, we don't need 443 because for 443 you have to use again mod SSL. Okay, so you can just say 80 and you can run, and then finally the CMD is the command which will start the backend service in foreground. Since it is Apache, we are using HTTPD-D foreground. I think I missed that space. We gave a -D space, no, but still it worked in Linux, right? We tried that. That also worked actually. Okay, that's fine. So here, so this is the last command or the final command which will start your service in the foreground. So this is what you are defining inside your Docker file. And then if you want to build a custom container by this, you can say Docker build, okay, -T. I'll use same Apache 2, then I'll say from file. Yes, I'm giving some custom name, okay, just to make some difference, okay. And then you have to say where is your Docker file location, the path of the Docker file. It's right here in the current directory. So just say Docker file dot. So look at this. It is first downloading the Docker, so as a separate layer. So for every command, it creates one separate layer. So CentOS one layer, M installation is again another layer, maintainer another layer. You got it? Okay. So can we try now? Can we try to run the container by using this? So say Docker run -D, sorry, -P 80 port -D. Okay, let's give some name also. Web1. So it should be available. Okay. So say Docker PS now. Okay, now it is listening on 80 port. So ideally, if we go to the browser, we should see some test page, the default thing, right? So it is working now, right? So we should be able to again add mount points. So I think yesterday I was showing how to create a local directory to, or mount the local directory to Docker container, so that you make the code available, right? So you can download your whatever, like git clone html.git file. So just -v, give the path to www HTML. So that will be attached. Yes. Zen server లో అవసరం లేదు. జెన్ సర్వర్ లో అట్లా సెక్యూరిటీ గ్రూప్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అట్లాంటిది ఏం లేదు. వర్చువల్ బాక్స్ లో కూడా అవసరం లేదు, యాజ్ లాంగ్ యాజ్ యు ఆర్ యూజింగ్ బ్రిడ్జ్డ్ నెట్వర్కింగ్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ఏంటంటే ఆ పోర్ట్స్ ఇవన్నీ వచ్చేటప్పటికి ఇట్స్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ నెట్వర్కింగ్ కాన్సెప్ట్. యాజ్ లాంగ్ యాజ్ యు ఆర్ యూజింగ్ బ్రిడ్జ్డ్ నెట్వర్కింగ్, సో యూ డోంట్ నీడ్ టు అగైన్ డూ సంథింగ్ డిఫరెంట్. బట్ ఇన్ వర్చువల్ బాక్స్ సర్వీస్ రన్ అవుతుంటే చాలు. అండ్ వర్చువల్ బాక్స్ లో ఒక నాట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉంది. సో నెట్వర్క్ ఆప్షన్స్ లో నెట్వర్క్ హోస్టెడ్ అడాప్టర్, నాట్ నెట్వర్కింగ్ అని ఉంది. నాట్ వాడినప్పుడు మళ్ళీ యూ నీడ్ టు క్రియేట్ పోర్ట్ మ్యాపింగ్. మనం ఇక్కడ ఎలాగో పోర్ట్ మ్యాపింగ్ చేసుకున్నామో వర్చువల్ బాక్స్ లెవెల్లో అక్కడ మళ్ళీ పోర్ట్ మ్యాపింగ్ చేసుకోవాలి. hosted adapter hosted adapter కాదు, bridged adapter is recommended. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, right. So that's the container you are getting. So let us, if you want to try to download the, what do you call, if you want to try, okay, HTML Git is already available here. So we can actually try to attach this to your machine. Okay. So run another container, done port 8180, name web2, that is that. Okay, I want to add -v also. You are attaching it to www HTML. Okay, sorry. -d. Attach. What is it? Okay, now we have got another Apache web server on 81, and you also have created a mount. So if you go to this on 81 port, we should see our website. Okay, so that's how you can create custom images, and you can use that for like whatever, like you want to do. So you have the Docker file already available, and check if, I think I have put, I remember I have uploaded all the Docker commands also here already. Service validation, user guide, so Docker commands. So we have, yeah, so you have all the commands actually. So try this. So build a custom Docker container. So you can actually download the Docker file and then okay, sample Docker file from running container. Okay, that is what something, right? So I think the step was missing when we created the image from the running container. So the default command is always bin bash. Okay. So if you want to start the web service, we can also do this actually. Docker images, Docker run -d. So this is our image, right? So here we can say sbin httpd -d foreground. I don't know if we, I think we have to put it in, since it is a single command. No such file or directory. rc.local అవసరం లేదు. ఇది no such file or directory. Executable file not found in path. Okay, so this was the correct syntax. So why is it saying exec? Okay, so let me also fix this. Okay. Entry point is bin bash. So docker run command. So let me run this without any just cool. I think I don't need to give any code solve, right? Okay. It started working. So only thing is, instead of PTC rc.local, I think it's not required. Yeah, in rc.local also it is not required. So you can pass the command which you want, how you want to start your service. So it will get started, right? Every time you have to give that. Yeah. Otherwise, create the image from the Docker file where you can give that CMD option. Okay.
So Satish, so we are using one Docker container, but we are talking to the container with the different ports. Is that what we are doing?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So we are now creating the containers from different images. So we built the images in two different ways, where we took the image, ran the container, convert that container as an image. That is one process. And the other process is create your Docker file, input file, where you put all the instructions, which base image should be used and which ports should be exposed, which commands you want to install inside your Docker container. Just with the command one
So
Docker build command, you will be able to create the image. Okay?
no, my question is, so if I see the screen there, first two rows, it is Eschella/Apache 2.
Okay.
We are same with same container. We are running with different ports. Does it mean?
Yes, absolutely. So because once the port is already used on host machine, I cannot use the same port from other containers. The backend port can be same, but on the host server we cannot use the same port. So I always have to run the containers on different ports on the host machine.
No. Maybe I'm still not clear. So first two lines, if you see under ports column, Eschella/Apache 2, it is there.
So this is the container name, and these are the ports.
Even second row also the same container name is there.
Yes, but we did not. We actually missed that giving port mapping.
Okay.
Here,
but it is the same container, but we are accessing the same container through different ports. That's what I'm saying.
No. It is actually there are two different containers. So when I was creating the first container, I missed that port number because I wanted to see the Apache installation works or not. The sbin HTTPD command, this command works or not. Okay, so I did not mention -p there. So okay, it was working. Then I gave again -p to access the Apache website. Okay. So with that, we are able to now use both containers, either by using Docker commit and by using Docker file also. And now these containers can be also pushed to your Docker Hub. Okay. I think I have the Docker Hub account already. So let me show you that. So I think I'm using Eschella. Docker login, yes, ఇక్కడ యూస్ చేస్తాం. Docker attach, yes. So Docker attach is, I'll tell you. Okay, so this is the Docker login. So I have a Docker repository already available. So you can actually publish all your Docker images into this Docker Hub. Okay, so let me show you how do we publish our Docker images to Docker Hub. So we are seeing a lot of images. So somebody has uploaded. So we just try to understand that process. So first of all, we need to use Docker login is the command. So that will ask you to enter your username and the password. So it creates a session from your command line. So login succeeded. Now you can say Docker push HLA and say Apache 2. So it is now uploading your Docker local image to Docker Hub directly. So look at that. So that is the first layer which is uploaded, and this is your library CentOS, but it would be already available on the Docker Hub. So I don't think it is going to be uploaded. Mounted from library CentOS. So the CentOS is available already on Docker Hub. So it will not again upload that. Absolutely. If someone downloads my HLA Apache to custom image, they should have the local CentOS repository. Otherwise, it will download. If it is not available on their machines, it will download. So since it is already there, it is not uploaded. Now you can go to this. So that's the Docker Hub image. So you can actually share this to anybody else. By default, it is public. So sometimes, it's important to check or make sure whether you want to expose this to public or keep it private. So if you want to keep it private, go to the details, and there is an option here, settings, make private. So that will be only shared to the, if you want to share with some specific people, you should be able to share it. Okay. History commands history. Okay, I'll give you the command history. Right. So yeah. So these commands, these are all not useful. Okay. So we have one. Okay. Bye. For container, Docker container creation is here. cd ls vi docker file and Docker container listing, and then creating the container from this, then verification. Yes. These are the steps for creating your containers. So create a directory. Okay. Get into the directory and say ls. You don't have any file. So copy the Docker file from wiki, and you can use this command to build the custom image, Docker images, to verify your custom image. Yes. And then yes, this is the command to create a container by using that image and verifying your Docker container.
So here, when you create the new image using the Docker file, Docker build command, Apache SCHALA/Apache2_ from file. So this SCHALA is the user ID of Docker Hub or on the Linux box?
It is actually the Docker Hub username. So you need to, so this is actually optional. This is optional on local machine. You don't need to give. But if at all you want to, in future, if you want to upload this image to Docker Hub, follow this syntax. Okay. you can directly give just like this also without any username. But if you want to upload this image to Docker Hub, you have to follow the naming convention. Sorry. Okay.
So these steps, are you going to mail or is it already there in Wiki?
They're already there in Wiki. So in case anything is not working, please let me know. So I'm actually taking all these steps, Docker file also from Wiki only, right? So most of the things are already there already. Okay, you want still history?
So AWS DevOps certification, what are all the things they cover in the exam?
In AWS DevOps, if you go to AWS DevOps certification, there are similar resources like Chef, Ansible, Git, Jenkins on AWS. We are not going to use actually Git and Chef. So there are similar resources called OpsWorks and Code Pipeline, Code Deploy, then Code Commit, Elastic Beanstalk. So these are all the resources they will be covering as part of the AWS DevOps certification. Okay, but I would request to not to go to the AWS DevOps right now. First to finish Solution Architect Associate, then you can go to that. Then you can go to the AWS DevOps certification, because you need to understand a little bit like how things work on AWS, right? So with that, we are bringing all these sessions to a closure, right? So I'm sure we have still a lot of tools to be covered in DevOps. As I said, it's like now it has become an ocean. So we have hundreds of tools available in DevOps. Okay. So what we will do is we'll get into from next week onwards, next weekend, we'll get into at least 3 minimum real-time projects. Okay. So there will be full day working session on Saturday. Saturday it's going to be a full day session from 10 to 6. Okay. So I'll give you a requirement. So you have to come and then you have to start executing that. Maybe we'll not be able to finish it. Okay. Ideally, if you come with all the basics, fully practiced, I'm sure you will be able to finish that task. Okay. But sometimes.
So that assignment.
Yeah.
So that assignment is on AWS side or DevOps side?
I'm going to cover all three: Linux, AWS, and DevOps. Let's say if you have finished only Linux, if you don't know AWS part, you can take a couple of virtual machines and you can install everything manually. Okay, if you know AWS, do the same exercise on AWS. If you know DevOps, do it with automation. The same task is same. Task will never change, but the way you do it will change. Okay? So we are going to manage the same web applications going forward. When you go to any company, you will have to manage the websites. Maybe the website is developed in simple HTML or PHP or Java. So if you have the application in Java, you have the build process extra. Use Maven to build it and then copy this to Tomcat server. If it is a simple PHP application, copy the code directly to Apache. So what you will install will change, how you are running will change, how you are executing will change. But ideally you need a virtual machine. So if you know AWS, create a virtual machine on AWS. Okay, you have seen how to create a machine on Ansible on AWS using Ansible. If you have finished the DevOps, use Ansible to create machine automatically. Create another Tomcat role automatically. So it's all about like if you have finished Linux, AWS, and the DevOps, ideally you should be able to finish the task with one command. Finally, at the deliverable will be with one command. You should be in a position to set up the entire thing. Even if you have one web server, one database, you can use CloudFormation, etc., whatever the resources you want. But finally, with one command, the entire application should be set up. These are called one-click deployments. So you will be able to build the entire application infrastructure, including the first time setup, will be automated with one click. Okay, so that is what we will be seeing in in the next time projects. I'm sure in the first session you might not be able to understand everything, so I'll give you like small tasks first week, and then we'll get into some advanced topics from next week. So definitely you have to attend a minimum 3 sessions. So make sure. So my time is dedicated. Next 3 weeks I'm here full time. Okay. So guys, Dilip, I know Gautam is available. So how you guys will manage? It's going to be a full day session.
So actually I'm back to India again. I came back on the 29th. So I'll be coming to class.
Oh, wonderful. All right.
On yeah. And also, so I have another question is that online where you shared your videos on the Google Drive, you all forgot to update Tuesday's class.
I don't know. Not sure if it is only Tuesday, but I remember last 2 to 3 days I have not uploaded. I did not upload. I don't know if Praveen has uploaded that. So
Satish, can you
okay,
share the DevOps Google Drive link?
Yeah, I will share. So tell me, that's what I actually I forgot. Whoever did not have access, so I asked you to just ping me personally on WhatsApp. So I'll give you the links.
Okay.
Okay,
It has second part of Ruby. That's the reason I wanted.
Sure. Ping me.
Okay.
So all right. So with today we are going to close all the sessions. So tell me if you have any questions from any of these topics: Linux, AWS, DevOps. I can actually extend my time because since it is the last day. So in case if you want to understand now, you have like learned bits and pieces. I'm sure you might have already understood some setting up sample applications and all. So in the next coming sessions, you will understand how we are actually going to apply these skills in real-time projects. All right. But as I said, the basic practice. Okay. You have to be comfortable with all the commands. So if you come to the session where you don't know how to find the processes, where you don't know how to find the memory, where you don't know how to find the CPU information, it's not going to help. So you need to be already aware of all the commands, the basic commands, how to find out IP address, routing information, CPU, memory, installing packages, all the basic things should be very, very clear. Okay. Then only you will be able to get participate in the projects. So don't start learning again the basics.
Do we have this?
Yes, Dilip.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Do we have this class tomorrow? I mean, regarding the the tasks and everything.
No, not
Or is it from starting from next week?
Not tomorrow. Next week. That's on.
Okay.
15th of July. 15th, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll start from 15th, 22nd, and 29th. Okay. All right. I'm sure actually, I mean, you are not limited to only 3 projects. I'm going to continue. So for the rest of the batches, I'll continue these projects. Just because of the weekend batch, actually, I kept these on hold for last 3-4 weeks. So I'm going to resume those workshops again. So that's what the differentiator. Remember? So this is the differentiator. Yes. So after this training, with right here, if you go to a job, the chance of getting a job is less than 10%. Remember, I'm sure you have not practiced much. I can see that. Okay. So if you go with this knowledge, the chance of getting a job is less than 10%. But in next 3 weekends, if you concentrate on next 3 weekends, the chances will go up more than 50%. And with your practice, it can go up to 80 to 90% also. It's all in your hands. So next 1 month is going to be very, very crucial for you. And if you don't practice in next month, you have to come for another training after 1 month. I'm sure you will forget everything in next 1 month if you don't practice. It's going to happen. Okay. So next 1 month is going to be very, very important for you. So you have to keep up the pace. So you have to continue learning. Especially guys, I think you are doing really good practice. So continue that. I'm sure in next 1 month you'll get into the goals. Okay. So continue that. And if you have any questions, I'm always here. So you can approach me and you can ask me any questions. So any questions right now, right here?
No, I was just also another question. As you mentioned that they are you all are hiring right now. Can I know how many positions you all have available on? I mean, accordingly, I will try to apply for your thing.
These are for freshers, so Dilip.
Okay.
So these are for freshers. Actually, I'm getting a lot of support requirements actually from US candidates. Okay, a lot of, I mean, in fact, small companies also approaching me for the consulting part. So AWS implementation, DevOps implementation. So I want to keep up
Okay.
the resources aligned for any of these, next tasks. But remember,
So,
you have to, if you want to apply for any of these job, one thing is simple. Come with all the exercises finished. Whatever the exercises you have
Okay.
on Wiki, Linux, AWS, and DevOps.
Yeah.
So if you finish all those assignments, I don't want to even go for an interview. You don't need any interview.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
so Satish,
Thanks.
when you say you want freshers,
Mm-hmm.
so do you mean they already attended? You understand that they already attended these classes, or
Absolutely.
they're just
Absolutely.
freshers?
No. Absolutely. Freshers with Linux, AWS, DevOps training finished.
Oh, okay.
So they should have finished already the training sessions. And it doesn't mean like only training session. As I said, they should finish all the exercises also. If they are comfortable to take those exercises, so we can hire you. All right. So with that, we will be closing the session. And thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining. And in case you have any feedback, so how many of you have shared the feedback on Google? Miss Aina? Okay. And you all shared. 1, 2, 3. So please share your feedback. Okay. So whatever you like and what you didn't like, what can be done better, anything, whatever you have. So please share your feedback, and that's going to help us a lot. All right. And in case you need any additional help, as you know, I'm always here most of the time. I'm like a full-time employee here. So please come and talk to me for anything, any additional. All right. And thank you so much, guys, and wish you all the best. Bye.